Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Gyan Timirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurin Militam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Reading from the Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 2, with commentary by Srila Visvanatha Cakravarti Thakur. We're on text 17. Krishna, who purifies by the process of hearing and chanting, who is the benefactor of the devotees who hear about him, enters the hearts of the devotees and destroys their sins. The previous verse was attraction for the topics concerning Krishna, arises through the service of great devotees. An awakening of faith takes place through the seva of a pure Vaishnava. Now, when one has that faith and one hears and chants, Krishna acts from within to purify the heart. Krishna, who purifies one by the process of hearing and chanting, is the benefactor of those devotees who hear about him, as he enters the hearts of the devotees and destroys all sins. As the impediments to bhakti become generally destroyed by constant service to devotees and the Bhagavatam, the stage of Nistita Bhakti to Bhagavan, who is praised by the greatest of sages, becomes established. The process of bhakti now purifies the heart. And here it says that all impediments to bhakti become destroyed by service to the Bhagavad Vaishnava and hearing of the Bhagavatam. These two things go hand in hand. Hearing and serving. One should serve the person of Bhagavat, the devotee, while hearing the Bhagavat. This purifies the heart. Commentary by Srila Visvanatha Cakravarti Thakur, Bhagavat Sevaya means service to the devotees of Bhagavan and service to the Srimad Bhagavatam by hearing. By serving the devotees and hearing the Bhagavatam, all the major portions of Nam Aparad becomes weak. In the beginning, one may be engaged in chanting, and there may be some aparads, but all of that becomes weakened through the strength of one's continual service and hearing of the Bhagavatam while one is chanting. So these principles are there. One has to chant, but one must also hear the Bhagavatam and render service to the Bhagavad Vaishnava. Then the weakening of the aparads will continue till one develops the stage of rati or bhav, an awakening of natural love for the Lord. So when at this stage the mind can easily concentrate on the Lord. When one finds it difficult to concentrate on the Lord, it's because of various obstacles. But all of that becomes cleared away through this process of hearing the Bhagavatam, chanting the holy names, and rendering service to the Vaishnavas. When the anarthas are for the most part destroyed, devotee attains the stage of nishta, which means steadiness, due to the opening of the heart. Text 19, the mind becomes unaffected by lust and greed and anger and hatred and illusion, which arises in the forms of rajas and tamas. Because the living entity is connected to this world, the modes of nature have their influence. Rajas, passion, tamas, bring about lust, greed, anger, hatred, illusion. These arise from rajas and tamas. But gradually the heart becomes purified. And as one becomes free from the influence of rajas and tamas, then one also becomes freed from lust and greed and anger and hatred and illusion, which arises from these modes of nature. Then the mind becomes fixed. So at this point, the mind can become fixed on the form of the Lord. This stage is called ashakti, and one becomes satisfied. Commentary. The mind is not transformed by the agitations of lust and greed and other qualities such as anger, illusion, and hatred, which arises from rajas and tamas. This means that there is a lack of taste for material objects. Gradually, one is becoming detached from even the influences of the modes of nature, especially the lower modes of tamas and rajas, and those things which create attachment to things in rajas or tamas. And therefore, one gives those things up because he begins to develop, here it says, because of a lack of taste for the material objects, he begins to taste ruchi. He begins to taste and relish the process of hearing and chanting and the other processes of devotional service. In the previous state, the mind was pierced by the sharp arrows. As one is encumbered in one's karmic situation, one is hit by the sharp arrows of lust and greed and like this. So how could the mind be satisfied in that state? Srila Visvanatha Cakravarti asks. How could the mind attain real taste for chanting in this state when one is still under the influences of the modes of nature? So here the formula is given. Chant the holy name of the Lord, hear the Bhagavatam, and render service to the pure Vaishnavas. A person afflicted with pain does not relish food. In this way, the understanding is you cannot taste the sweetness of Krishna Rasa if you're still under the pains of material energy. After this, the mind becomes fixed, stitam. And in that Shuddha Sattva state, the deity of the Lord remains fixed within the heart. That is the stage called Ashakti. Text 20, then the mind becomes joyful. These are the stages of bhakti. At this point now, as one becomes released from the modes of nature and one becomes more and more attached to the Lord, one becomes naturally joyful and satisfied on this state of attaining rati. And finally, the highest stage, prem, natural love for the Lord, arises, which is accompanied by the appearance of complete detachment for everything other than one's natural love for Krishna. One's mind is always fixed upon Krishna. And the natural love for Krishna is there within the heart, relishing that taste. The devotee then experiences the Lord's form, his qualities, his pastimes, his powers, and his sweetness. In this way, the taste is there. Just like one who has tasted some very nice foodstuffs prepared so consciously for one's own pleasure, someone may prepare for you and you taste that and you appreciate it. And especially that love that it was prepared with. The ingredients are there, but also the mentality of the person who prepared that. Their natural love for preparing that for you. So here the devotee experiences on this level, because Krishna is acting from within the heart and also purifying our heart in our service, and our attachment is deepening towards him, our love is deepening towards him. Therefore we appreciate the beauty of his form. We want to see Krishna in his threefold bending form with Radharani by his side. And we want to hear about his wonderful qualities and the pastimes that he performs and acted in Braj with his friends and with his lovers and even with the parental affections of the elders. We want to hear all of that, even the killing of the demons. So whatever Krishna does, we want to know about. The pastimes, hearing of Krishna's powers, lifting of the Govardhan hill and killing so many asuras. But especially here it says the sweetness, the divine exchange of love between Krishna and the Brajvasis in that eternal Golok Vrindavan. Commentary, by this method, With the development of Ashakti, with worship of Krishna at every moment, Rati appears. Without Rati, there could never be constant detachment from objects of material enjoyment. Rati means one's loving attachment towards Krishna, and naturally that detaches one from everything else. So it's a natural process, not artificial restraint or anything like that, but the natural process of loving Krishna, which awakens within the heart, brings about natural detachment from everything other than Krishna. In other words, those things which were pushed upon us by the modes of nature. Now we're becoming detached. Detachment from the objects of material enjoyment. And without such attachment, one actually becomes satisfied when one's attachment is only on the Lord. Then prem to Bhagavan appears, and from that arises realization, Vijnanam, of the nature of the Lord. With one's love, also the opening of understanding Krishna more and more, the nature of his form, his qualities, his powers, his pastimes, and his sweetness. The desired result of bhakti has thus been explained. In other words, this is the result. This is what we want through the execution of our devotion, to rise step by step to this highest level of prema bhakti. Ignorance, the next verse, text 21, ignorance is cut and all doubts are destroyed. On seeing the Lord in the mind with the eyes, all karmas are destroyed. The knot in the heart, it is ignorance. This is cut by the power of bhakti. The sword of transcendental knowledge, the sword of devotion, cuts that knot of ignorance. This is a reflective verb which indicates the destruction of ignorance. But it is not the main result sought in bhakti. This automatically happens, just like cessation of one's hunger automatically takes place when one eats. But it is the pleasure of eating that is sought, the taste of the rasas of the various foodstuffs. But the natural result also is we are free from the hunger. And so similarly, one tastes the ras of Krishna bhakti, and simultaneously, the secondary result is one is free from the influences of the modes of nature. One becomes satisfied. Having seen the Lord, who is the soul, all karmas are destroyed. Or the Lord being in the mind, Atmani, and then being seen directly, all karmas are destroyed. In other words, when Krishna is situated within the heart, or Krishna is situated within the eyes, smeared with the salve of love, all karmas are destroyed. That means the bondage that keeps us tied to this material world and which forces us to take birth after birth after birth, free from that. Therefore, the devotee becomes liberated from the cycle of birth and death. But that is not the primary concern. That is the secondary. The primary is the awakening of our love for Krishna. So, all karmas are destroyed. Thus, both the spuriti of the Lord in the mind and direct appearance to the eyes is indicated. 14 steps are followed. Here, this is the progression. Gaining the mercy of the devotees who look upon us kindly, become friends with some devotees. They awaken a faith within us. Then service to devotees. Further faith is manifest. Then surrender to a guru. So this is 14 steps. First, the first step is getting the mercy of the devotees, Krishna's emissaries within this world. They are here trying to give out their kindness to all the fallen souls, giving out prasad, chanting on the streets, giving out a book, whatever it may be. However we come in contact with the devotees, they invite us to come to their home or invite us to come to the temple. We develop a friendship with them. That is their mercy. They've extended themselves to the conditioned souls of this world. They extended themselves. They have no reason to do that, but in the service of their own guru and in the service of the Lord, they do. They extend themselves and show mercy to the fallen. You make a friendship. Then you think, so nice, let me do something. That may be simple in the beginning, some service to the devotees. Then, as that relationship develops, one's faith strengthens. Then one thinks, I should become further committed to this process. And what is the first thing I should do? Adau Guru Pada Ashraya, taking shelter of the feet of the spiritual master, or surrendering to Guru. Desiring then for worship, then increasing one's service, hearing and learning the processes of worship, learning the processes of sadhana, practicing the principles of bhakti, clearance then finally of the anarthas, and then the deeper aspects of nishta, ruchi, ashakti, rakti, prem manifest, where one then sees the Lord or directly experiences the Lord's sweetness. Thus the mind, text 22, thus the mind brings one joy. The wise constantly perform bhakti, which gives joy to the mind, to Krishna with great joy. By saying with great joy, it is indicated that even at the stage of sadhana bhakti, there are no difficulties. One feels happiness at the execution of devotional service. Even from the very beginning, there is a joyfulness to that execution. In the association of the Vaishnavas, taking prasad, chanting the holy name in a congregational manner, and like this, there is joy from the very beginning stage to the, who can express what what that joy would be on the highest level. In text 23, the Bhagavatam takes a different shift. It said, here we've learned about the gradations of devotion. Now he says that one supreme Purusha, accepting the gunas of Prakriti, known as Sattva, Rajas, and Tamas, for the purpose of creation, maintenance, and destruction, is called Vishnu, Brahma, and Shiva. So after discussing the ways of bhakti and the progression of one's devotion, he now turns our attention to the Lord. That one supreme Purusha, Adi Purusham, Govindam Adi Purusham, Tamaham Bhajami, that one supreme personality of Godhead, he enters into this world and presides over the gunas of Prakriti, Sattva, Rajas, and Tamas, for the purpose of creation, maintenance, and destruction. In other words, creation is Rajas, destruction is Tamas, and maintenance is considered Sattva. They are identified. Brahma is identified with creation. Shiva is identified with destruction. And so they're identified with those modes of nature, Rajas and Tamas. But Vishnu is identified with maintenance, who oversees Jada Jada Hi Dharmasya Glanir Bhavati Bharata. Whenever there is a need, the Lord says, I'll come to this world and show the ways of Dharma. That is maintenance. He is maintaining the world, especially in the principles of Dharma. So that is Vishnu's position. So he comes in many, many avatars to see to the well-being of the world. Therefore, the best result for the devotees will come from Vishnu with Shuddha Sattva body. So, if we go back to the understanding that Vedic society was built upon the principles of Varnashram, and the Varnashram principles were meant to ultimately satisfy the Lord, then the principle of establishing Vishnu as that deity of sattva will be the best thing for people in the beginning. People in the beginning may not understand Krishna. That still happens. People do not understand the nature of Krishna, but they understand Vishnu a little bit better in a general sense. Godhead, who oversees the worlds. And therefore one should act in the, let's say, karmic yogic principle in the beginning. This is for those who have not yet developed that taste for bhakti, pure bhakti, but live in the social structure of varna and ashram. Then the recommendation here is being given. One should live one's life in the service of Vishnu and lead a life of purity, accepting sattvic principles within one's life, sattvic diets, sattvic habits, like that. Commentary. It has just been explained that one should perform bhakti alone, rather than karma or gyan. And similarly, one should worship Bhagavan alone, giving up the worship of the devatas. The Lord, though one, appears in many forms as avatar for his pastimes. We have discussed before that Krishna, when he appeared, he put a stop to the worship of the demigods. That was still going on. The worship of Indra was being done. And Krishna rid that principle of worshiping Indra. He told his father, give this up. Don't worry about Indra. He will automatically have to provide rains. We just are focused on our service, and automatically the land will provide. In other words, the devas have their duty to mankind as long as we're performing our duty. And our principal duty is service to the Lord. Then the devas must provide for us. That is their duty. That is the reciprocation that they are meant to do if we do our duty, which is service to the Lord, pouring water on the root of the tree. Then every aspect of the tree flourishes. So that is the basic principle. And so one begins to understand that Vishnu is that principle of sattva gun, and one begins to worship Vishnu through one's work. Gradually, in the association of pure Vaishnavas, one comes to understand the transcendental nature of bhakti and begins to render devotional service on a higher level than simply the execution of one's duties or karmas. Jai Gaur Premanandi, Hari Hari Bol, Jai Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai, Gaur Premanandi, Hari Bol.